A young warrior looks on in terror, her face pale as dark shapes swirl around her. A hulking man with a terrifying grin appears, wielding a massive mallet made of woven material. The scene shifts to a dark forest, where men lie slain, pierced with arrows. And back in the present, the warrior stands with a young boy, an elder who holds a red object. The elder clutches a small bag in his hand, his knuckles white with tension. The girl's eyes widen as she realizes what the old man is about to do, and she quickly grabs his wrist, trying to stop him from going through with his desperate plan. The elder warns her to wait, asking what she intends to do as she readies her weapon. A sinister, toothy grin spreads across the face of the massive opponent. The large man lunges forward with his mallet, while the girl screams for him to stop. She declares she won't let things go his way, her eyes burning with determination. The young warrior channels powerful blue energy into her weapon. She slams the glowing weapon directly into the ground with all her might. A massive shockwave of blue energy erupts from the point of impact. In the aftermath, a sinister smile shows that the enemy might not be defeated. The world changes as narration explains time is rewinding 8 centuries. A bright star is shown falling into this past world, causing a massive explosion. Onlookers watch from a cliff as brilliant energy erupts from the impact site. This rare ore was zirconium, a stone that brought an exhilarating air of change. Through conduits made from it, humanity gained the means to control supernatural powers. A voice calls out to 2 children named Asa and Alton, announcing a gift for them. And so an elder with braided hair smiles, explaining it's their birthday and time to test their training. Asa confidently declares she won't lose to Alton this year, her eyes full of determination. She takes the small spinning top, her hands glowing with blue energy as she concentrates. A bright smile spreads across her face as the top spins rapidly, enveloped in a powerful aura. Inside, the elder asks if they've made their birthday wishes, and Alton confirms they have. And Asa boldly states her wish is to be the strongest nomadic ruler and explore the world. Later, she rushes through a field, telling Alton to hurry or they'll be late for the festival. She explains her excitement is for the 4-tribe procession, calling it the best part. Alton follows behind, looking less than thrilled about the yearly event. Asa stops at a large tree and asks her companion to help her climb up for a better view. The boy gives her a boost, helping her reach one of the thick lower branches. She successfully pulls herself up, looking down at him with a mischievous grin. After settling on the branch, she invites Alton to join her, telling him to be careful. Once he's beside her, she points excitedly at something in the distance. They look out over the bustling Coor Festival just as it begins to kick off. Their view allows them to see the graceful dancers of the Terran tribe performing. They also spot the members of the Kaiva tribe with their large, fluffy snow yaks. Asa then notices the tribal chief talking with a mysterious robed figure. Her eyes light up as she realizes it is a voice-guided priest, telling Alton to look. And the tribal chief explains to the robed man that they are searching for candidates for a sovereign. Asa can't believe a voice-guided priest is scouting in their village, while Alton looks on in shock. She eagerly slides down the tree, wanting to see the priest up close, leaving a panicked Alton behind. A voice-guided priest is a high-ranking cleric who spreads the teachings of Tengri, and these priests select potential sovereigns, but only those from the 10 great tribes can be chosen. Asa tells Alton this is their chance to appeal to the priest by winning the tournament, and she believes if they win, they will definitely be chosen as candidates for sovereign. Suddenly, a voice interrupts, mockingly asking who plans on winning the tournament. A larger boy shoves Asa, sending her stumbling into a pile of fresh yak dung. The bully and his 2 friends stand over them, him complaining that he got some on his shoe. Alton quickly helps the dirt-covered ass at her feet as she glares at their rivals. The opponent smirks, reminding them of their defeat last year and promising an even worse one. Furious, Asa retorts with a fiery threat, ready to fight back against the bully. But Alton quickly grabs her shoulder, stopping her before she can lunge forward. He calmly tells his companion that now is not the time to engage with them. The rival sneers, promising to teach her a lesson during a real battle as Asa sees this. Just then, the sound of a large horn echoes through the festival grounds, and so an announcer's voice declares the official beginning of the Coor Sacred Tournament. All at once the young participants surge forward, racing toward a massive, rocky mountain. Asa and Alton run side by side, their eyes filled with determination as the competition begins. Asa leads the way up the steep cliff, her companion following closely behind her. She reaches the summit first and immediately helps Alton over the edge as others struggle. At the top another contestant faces them, but Asa stands ready for a fight. Alton quickly shouts for her to crouch as he lands a powerful blow on the opponent. He then warns her to watch out as another rival charges in from the side. The new opponent strikes, knocking Asa to the ground, but Alton stands ready. Lying on the ground, she smirks, explaining that they always watch each other's backs. Alton returns her smile, a silent understanding passing between the 2 partners. Many other contestants fail to reach the top, falling as the first event concludes. On the summit, the duo finds themselves surrounded by the remaining participants. From a distance, the priest uses a spyglass, identifying the 2 as Asa and Alton. The chief calls them troublemakers but admits they make a good team, working naturally. And this is because they only ever had each other to rely on growing up, and so, they lost their parents when they were young and probably don't even remember them. The priest looks on with sympathy, remarking on how harsh these times are for children. Another man asks if they are siblings, but the chief explains they are twins. The man then questions why they are holding a festival with the Sarkit tribe's situation, and so reveals that people have been found unconscious in the forest with their items stolen. He dismisses rumors of monkey attacks, insisting it was an ambush by someone else. The priest grimly states that crime is rampant, while the chief says tough times make tough people. A guard assures everyone not to worry, as they have secured the village for the festival. He states no thieves or bandits will be able to get inside. The chief then turns to the priest, suggesting they go enjoy the celebration now that security is handled. As night falls, he offers to show his guest how the Sangpo tribe truly celebrates under the full moon. People toast each other with small cups, the sound of celebration filling the air. The festival is in full swing with villagers cooking, dancing, and enjoying the lively atmosphere around bonfires. Meanwhile, away from the main festivities, Alton tends to a small cut on Asa's cheek while she draws in the dirt, and so Alton asks if the drawings are supposed to be them, and she explains they are carving their victory into history. And Asa smiles proudly, confident that their performance in the semifinals went well and that the gods are watching. Alton, however, seems less enthusiastic and asks her if she really wants to be a sovereign, calling it a hassle, and so she replies that's why she is counting on him to share the hardship, reminding him they are two souls in one body. She encourages him to dream big, imagining what would happen if they both became sovereigns. Alton thinks to himself that he prefers his current, simple life where his biggest worry is yak dung, but as he looks at Asa, he realizes that such a simple existence would never suit her ambitions. He resolves himself with a small, determined smile. He finally agrees, asking what kind of brother wouldn't support his sister's dreams. Asa beams with joy, her face lighting up at his words of support, and she leaps to her feet, cheering and calling out a challenge to their rival, Nuru. In the dark forest nearby, a lone guard on patrol yawns, wondering why he agreed to this duty. He reassures himself that nothing ever happens out here, just as a dark figure appears silently behind him. Before he can react, the figure covers his mouth and brutally strikes him down with a spear. The guard's eyes fill with terror as his life fades, a final choked sound escaping him. He looks up to see three menacing figures in dark robes and horn masks looming over him, and as the guard lies motionless on the ground, one of the figures declares his death will not be in vain. The leader's three glowing eyes narrow as it announces it is time to begin the hunt. The next day, Alton enters their tent, excitedly announcing that they have finally made it to the finals. Inside, Asa is practicing with her weapon, vowing to show their opponents who is truly superior. Alton holds up a small stone, asking his sister if she remembers the strategy they planned. She confidently replies that she has perfectly mastered the flow of both Urame and Ishi Echo, and he challenges her to prove it by pulling out the Urame Echo and releasing it into the stream. With a grin, she skillfully summons a swirling ribbon of dark energy around her red umbrella. He then holds out his hand, instructing her to strike the stone and send it directly into his palm. Closing her eyes, she channels a powerful blue aura into the stone, her own eyes glowing with energy. With a focused shout, she unleashes the attack, sending the stone flying through the air. She precisely strikes the moving stone with the tip of her umbrella, intending to guide it. However, the dark energy misses its mark completely, hitting the wooden floor with a thud. The energy harmlessly dissipates, leaving Asa looking shocked at her failure. Alton cheekily asks if his signal recognition was flawless, teasing her about the miss, and she insists she just messed up the flow, but he warns that any mistake will disrupt their plan. He then asks if she's thinking of the echo flow as something simple, like the wind. The boy explains that unlike wind, the echo flow doesn't just move in one direction. He draws his own blade, unleashing a swirling torrent of golden and white energy to demonstrate. The powerful energy flows freely around the room, moving in multiple directions at once. As Asa watches, she finally understands that echo exists everywhere, flowing without a fixed form. Her eyes sparkle with a new level of insight as she grasps the true nature of this power. With her newfound understanding, Asa focuses her energy and creates a symbol with her umbrella. The Urame Echo rides the stream while the Ishi Echo stays, allowing for teleportation by swapping their coordinates, and the stone in her hand glows with the power of the Ishi Echo, ready to be moved. In an instant, the stone teleports directly into Alton's hand, proving the technique works. He tells her that if she can't grasp the flow during the match, she should wait for his signal instead, and she agrees but wonders why she can't read the flow as well as him, thinking they'd be unstoppable if she could. Alton smirks, teasing that unlike a certain airhead, he concentrates during training without daydreaming. Annoyed, Asa chases him out of the tent with her umbrella as he tells her they'll be late for the finals. An announcer's voice echoes across the arena, commencing the final event of the tournament, the Shimba competition. The competitors are divided into two teams, with Asa and Alton standing ready for the challenge. Their opponents are their rivals from before, the two bullies who look ready for a rematch. And so, the objective is simple: the first team to get the ball through the floating ring wins the tournament, and the announcer clarifies that any means to incapacitate opponents are allowed. and the use of echo is permitted. With the rules set, the tribal chief raises his hand and officially begins the final match. The rival team immediately springs into action, one wielding a whip and the other a staff. And Asa and Alton expertly navigate the stepping stones over the river, weapons drawn and ready. The woven ball is kicked into the air, officially starting the high-stakes game. Asa leaps across the water, skillfully kicking the ball high above her opponent's heads, and she jumps into the air and successfully catches the ball, gaining possession for her team. With the ball secured, she grins, knowing all that's left is to imprint the Ishi-iko. One of the opponents leaps forward, taunting Asa for not facing him directly. He sneers, promising to wash the filth off her and telling her not to cry like last time. The bully vows to put her in her place as he prepares to strike with his staff. A massive wave of water erupts from the river, knocking Asa off balance and sending the ball flying. The large opponent clicks his tongue in annoyance after his attack, and he seethes with anger, furious that she managed to dodge his void collapse technique. The rivals relentlessly pursue Asa, but she skillfully dodges their attempts to steal the ball. She mocks her pursuer Podge, telling him he hasn't grown at all since their last encounter. Asa confidently asks if he thought the same trick would work on her multiple times, and so she then leaps into the air, challenging him and asking if he really thinks he can defeat her. Her sudden confidence leaves the large bully completely stunned and speechless. With a swift and powerful blow from her umbrella, she smacks him directly into the water. Meanwhile, Alton finds himself locked in combat with the other rival Ko. Podjai shouts from the river that he's fine, urging his partner to help him get the ball. Ko skillfully wraps his whip around Alton's blades, disarming him in an instant, and he follows up with a powerful kick, sending the young warrior staggering back across the water. The whip wielder stands ready, his weapon swirling around him as he prepares his next move. With a flick of his wrist, he expertly uses his whip to snatch the ball out of the air, and Asa shouts to her brother, telling him she's counting on him to handle their opponent. Her eyes begin to glow with a brilliant blue light as she prepares to use her echo ability. Alton points forward, signaling that he has found an opening for their plan. Asa sees the signal, her eyes glowing as blue energy begins to swirl around her body. With a confident smirk, she declares that it's showtime and prepares to execute their strategy. And she charges forward with her umbrella, ready to unleash all the power she has gathered. The whip wielder sees her coming and mocks her for being too slow to stop him. He lashes out with his whip, but it passes harmlessly through her as she teleports. She reappears right in front of him, surrounded by the tidal flow of her echo. Alton suddenly panics, realizing that his sister has completely misjudged the timing. He decides to switch to plan B just as the whip wraps around Asa's leg, pulling her down, and the sudden attack sends her splashing into the water, much to the confusion of the crowd. And so, watching from the sidelines, the priest observes that the girl doesn't seem to have good timing. Podge gloats, praising his teammate for a job well done as he moves into attack. He raises his staff, summoning a powerful pillar of water to strike Asa down, but she uses his own staff as a leverage point, launching herself up into the air. A massive geyser of water erupts from the river, propelling her high above the arena, and she lets out a scream as she flips through the air, losing her grip on the ball. As she falls, she reaches out, determined to activate her power and catch the ball in time. Suddenly a voice praises her for distracting the opponents, revealing their true plan. Alton appears in mid-air, having teleported to the ball's location at the perfect moment, and so rivals look on in shock, realizing they have been set up from the very beginning. With his eyes glowing, Alton kicks the ball, sending a thin blue line of energy with it. He declares it's time to celebrate their victory as the ball soars directly toward the ring. The crowd erupts in cheers as the ball passes cleanly through the hoop, securing their win. The announcer declares the tournament over, naming Asa and Alton as the victors. The villagers celebrate, holding up a sign for Alton, who shyly tells them not to embarrass him. Asa smirks, admitting he deserved the spotlight this time but vows not to slip up again. The priest is impressed, telling the chief that his children are amazing performers. The chief proudly states he has taught the twins everything he possibly can. He then formally entrusts them to the priest, whose name is revealed to be Tenzin. Tenzin accepts, but their conversation is cut short by a dark, ominous presence. A robed figure with glowing red chains appears, its sinister aura filling the air. The chief's smile vanishes, replaced by a look of pure fury as he senses the danger. In an instant, the demonic figure strikes, impaling the tribal chief with a massive blade. Both Alton and Asa watch in horror, unable to comprehend what is happening. Asa's eyes widen in terror as she whispers the title of the man who was just struck down, and Tenzin desperately calls out to his friend, begging him not to leave him behind. The chief's hand goes limp, another senseless sacrifice in a world filled with violence. Peeking from behind a nearby structure, Asa stares in shock, asking what just happened. A voice remarks on the tragedy of innocent people dying and the pain of losing a friend. The demonic figures appear, one demanding that Tenzin hand over the saint beast. The demonic leader says this has become a hassle, warning them not to force any more slaughter. Asa stands frozen in shock, looking down at the fallen body of the tribal chief while Alton rushes forward. Filled with rage, the young warrior draws his dual blades, vowing that the attackers won't get away so easily. He leaps forward, clashing his weapons against one of the masked, red-robed figures in a furious assault. A voice asks if he seeks revenge, calling it a natural response as dark, shadowy tendrils begin to envelop him, and the overwhelming power of his opponent causes deep cracks to form along the blades of his swords. The demon warns that seeking revenge without wisdom is a fatal mistake, but Alton grits his teeth, determined to land one more blow. A massive, fiery explosion erupts from their clash, and his sister screams his name in terror. The blast sends the other villagers scrambling in panic as a man yells for everyone to run away. Asa continues to scream her brother's name, her face contorted with fear and despair. Suddenly, Alton appears, holding her and covering her mouth. He tells her not to cry and insists that she must run, and his eyes narrow with grim determination as he realizes he can't match their mysterious opponents. And so, looking at the three demonic figures through a protective bubble, he confirms that they are not their equal. Asa watches in tears, refusing to accept they're outmatched and believing there has to be something she can do. Alton turns and shouts for their former rivals, Ko and Podge, telling them it's time to leave. He urges them to run into the forest to lose their pursuers, leading the small group away from the village. Meanwhile, the demonic figures wonder where the priest Tenzin went, concluding the coward must have fled into the woods. One of them, Mizuki, remarks on the boy's resolve, curious to see what he will abandon first in his escape. The masked leader with a sinister grin gives a chilling order to paint the entire forest red. Another one, Kijaku, commands his followers not to let a single one escape until they have the Saint Beast. As the children run for their lives, one asks if their attackers are bandits, but Alton just tells him to focus on escaping. As they flee deeper into the woods, their faces are masks of terror, showing the pure panic of the situation. Suddenly, Alton stops, his eye glowing with a faint blue light as he senses something just ahead. The group stumbles upon a clearing filled with the bodies of the festival guards, all of them slain. One of the boys panics, realizing their path to the neighboring tribe is blocked and their escape has been cut off. Incautiously, the group approaches the grim scene, with Asa holding her umbrella forward like a spear. One of their companions suddenly points, noticing that among the bodies, a single guard is still alive. The dying man's eye glows an ominous red as he uses his last breath to warn the children to run. In an instant, a brilliant beam of light shoots through the forest, striking down the pursuing demonic figures. A new masked figure, a woman holding a bow, appears from the shadows and calmly declares it was a bullseye. The archer admits she finds it satisfying to hunt them, saying there's something about it that she truly enjoys. Her bow crackles with bright energy as she feels a shiver of pure excitement run through her. She recalls her boss warning against needless killing, but today she was told she could do as she pleased. And stepping forward protectively, Asa raises her umbrella and shouts for everyone to hide behind her. The archer fires a volley of energy arrows, but the young girl skillfully deflects them with a swirl of dark power. The masked attacker watches, her hidden expression seemingly one of surprise at the girl's skill, and she wonders aloud how a child could know such an advanced ekiko technique, questioning if it was just a guess. With a look of fierce determination, Asa vows that she will not let anyone else die. She then shouts for the others to run, leaping over the archer, who seems impressed by her natural talent. The mysterious woman becomes fascinated, wondering what the girl will become, and decides she wants her, and she allows the group to flee, calling them little kittens and noting that they have exceeded expectations. As the children continue their desperate escape through the forest, a bright energy blast follows close behind them. The archer's attack finds its mark, striking down their two companions, Ko and Podge, from behind. Asa screams their names in horror, her eyes glowing with a brilliant blue light as she watches them fall. But her brother grabs her arm, pulling her along and yelling at her not to stop running, forcing them to leave the others behind. And back in the clearing, one of the fallen boys pleads for his life as the masked archer looms over him. Having finally reached a safe distance, Asa furiously asks her brother why he stopped her from saving them. And so, she argues they need to get help from the next village, but then questions if they would even make it in time. And so, grabbing his head in frustration, Alton tells her it was impossible, admitting there was nothing they could do. He remains seated in despair while his sister watches him, her own expression hardening with resolve. Her glowing eyes narrow as her attention is suddenly drawn to a scene unfolding nearby in the forest. Hiding behind a bush, the twins watch as the priest Tenzin is confronted by another one of the masked attackers. And so the dark figure holds a sword to the priest, telling him to hand over the Saint Beast to end the slaughter immediately. Tenzin nervously tries to reason with him, asking why they would go to such lengths for a simple piece of paper, and the twins listen from their hiding spot, shocked to learn that so many people have died over a mere document. As his sister begins to stand up, Alton quickly asks what she is planning to do, sensing her intentions. Images of the tribal chief, the guards, and all the fallen villagers flash through the young girl's mind. Her eye glows with fury as she realizes everyone died for that single piece of paper, solidifying her resolve. Her brother reaches out, grabbing her hand and trying to convince her to wait and think things through, but she pulls away, her body surrounded by a blue aura, declaring she can't take it anymore and will stop them. Realizing he can't stop her, Alton agrees to fight alongside her and reveals he has a plan. Asa suddenly appears in a swirl of blue and black energy, launching a powerful surprise attack on the masked figure, and so the attacker is completely stunned, wondering where the young girl could have possibly come from. Even the priest Tenzin looks on in shock, finding her sudden appearance and powerful assault impossible. The girl lands a powerful strike directly on her opponent, sending a shock wave of energy through his body, and the force of the blow sends the masked man stumbling backward, unable to keep his footing from the impact. He digs his heel into the ground, managing to stop his momentum and regain his balance after the fierce blow. Gritting his teeth in fury, the attacker calls the young warriors cocky for their audacious move. Before he can counterattack, both twins are on him at once, launching a perfectly coordinated assault. The masked man is taken aback by their teamwork, yelling at them to stop messing around. Alton's fist, glowing with a brilliant blue aura, smashes directly into the opponent's chest. The powerful punch slams the masked figure into the ground, shattering the earth on impact. The priest watches in absolute disbelief, asking aloud what the two children just did to their foe. It is revealed that Asa vanished and switched places with Alton, who states only he can touch his sister. The boy celebrates, telling his sister he didn't think their plan would work so smoothly. Asa immediately rushes toward him, her first concern being whether her brother was hurt in the exchange, and he reassures her that he is fine while the priest finally understands she came from where Alton was hiding. The priest pieces it all together, realizing the two of them had swapped their positions during the attack. Wiping away a tear, Asa declares they are no longer just running away and that together, they can fight back. Her brother explains he sent the Urame echo with the current, certain it would work as planned, and he stands over the defeated foe as his sister admits that he always comes through when it matters most. The priest looks at them in disbelief, asking if they seriously intend to face such powerful enemies. With a determined grin, Asa confirms that is exactly what they mean to do, leaving no room for argument. And so, the twins stand shoulder to shoulder, ready for a fight, declaring that they are done running and will take them on. Tenzin calls them ridiculous, reminding them that this isn't a tournament and that if they lose, they will die. But the young girl retorts, asking who else will fight for their home if they don't, and when would be a better time than now. Alton agrees with his sister and turns to the priest, asking why he is being hunted just as a green light appears. A massive energy blade suddenly flies through the air as the masked archer announces that she has found them. The attack strikes the priest, and as Asa asks if he's okay, a small dark creature emerges from his wound. The archer mocks his pathetic reaction while Alton checks on the fallen masked foe from their earlier fight. The demonic figures reappear, telling the priest they don't know how much longer he can hold back and demanding he hand over a finger. And so, he questions their motives, finding it hard to believe they would have any interest in the creator's history. Clutching the paper, he feels a sense of dread, anxious about what could happen if it falls into their hands. He finally agrees to give it to them but vows he will not let the children face any more danger because of it. Just as he extends his hand to surrender the document, Asa quickly snatches it away from him, and she runs off with the paper, declaring she won't let things go according to the plans of those who killed everyone. The girl taunts them, challenging them to catch her if the item is so important, and flees with her brother. One of the demonic leaders, Mizuki, calmly orders her subordinate Roger to pursue the fleeing children. A large hulking figure with a strange mallet leaps into the air, surrounded by shimmering, colorful bubbles. The mysterious bubbles float gently through the air, drifting toward the escaping twins. Alton is suddenly hit by an unseen force, and Asa realizes with a shock that their enemies are not following them. And Asa is also struck by the invisible attack, crying out as the force hits her while her brother clutches his head. The twins find themselves trapped in a strange, distorted space, with Alton's hand beginning to look transparent. They are surrounded by beautiful, iridescent bubbles, and Asa cautiously pokes one with the tip of her weapon. More bubbles begin to appear all around them, and they quickly realize that they are trapped by this mysterious attack. And suddenly, one of the bubbles begins to glow with an intense, bright light, signaling imminent danger. The bubble violently explodes, the force of the blast sending both of the young warriors flying. Asa manages to land on her feet, looking up with an annoyed expression, frustrated by this strange assault. Her brother shouts that the bubble exploded, scrambling to his feet after the powerful detonation. He watches as the explosions leave massive craters in the ground, yelling that bombs are falling from the sky. The young man screams a warning to his sister, telling her to watch out for an attack from behind. The girl turns just in time to see a cluster of the strange bubbles floating down directly toward her, and so with a look of grim determination, she readies her umbrella, preparing to defend against the incoming threat. she channels her power into the weapon, preparing a counter-attack to deal with the strange bubbles. The young warrior unleashes her energy, striking a bubble and causing a massive vortex to erupt from the impact. Her umbrella pierces through the bubble, the swirling blue energy completely nullifying its power. Nearby, a horned, masked figure appears, shocked that his barrier has suddenly disappeared. Alton stands ready with his sword, surrounded by the bubbles as a strange mass of dark energy floats above him. He grits his teeth, cursing under his breath as he realizes the attacks are not over yet. And suddenly, several bubbles explode around him at once, the force of the blasts knocking him to the ground. So Asura rushes to his side as he lies injured, asking what she did wrong while he mutters something about the conduit. Asa rushes to her brother's side, calling his name as he lies on the ground, dirt-streaked and dazed. Her eyes widen in horror as she realizes the true extent of the danger they are facing. Just then, she quickly shoves her brother out of the way of a sudden, incoming blast of green energy. The masked archer is shown in the distance, having fired another precise and powerful shot from her bow. Getting back to their feet, the twins start running again, determined to escape their relentless pursuers. But as they flee, the girl's eyes glow, and she understands that they are being intentionally lured into a trap. Meanwhile, the priest Tenzin kneels on the ground, overcome with despair and surrounded by a dark, ominous aura. And so Alton tries to reason with his sister, but she snatches the important document from his hand before he can react. And she angrily declares that she will shred the paper to pieces and send it right back to their attackers. The large opponent charges forward, surrounded by red energy, demanding to know her plan and daring her to act. And the young warrior slams the tip of her umbrella into the ground just as the massive figure lunges toward her. A powerful shockwave of brilliant blue energy erupts from the point of impact, creating a massive explosion. The blast throws Alton backward, dark tendrils wrapping around him as he desperately screams his sister's name. Asa finds herself floating upside down in a strange, star-filled space calling out for her brother, and she looks around the cosmic void, confused and wondering where she is while hearing the faint sound of voices. Lying helpless in the strange dimension, she tries to listen but finds she cannot understand the words at all. Her attention is then drawn to a massive, swirling vortex of bright pink and yellow energy in the distance. The powerful vortex begins to pull her in, drawing her closer to the brilliant light at its very center. As she gets closer, a flood of information rushes into her head, causing her to cry out in pain for it to stop. The last thing she sees is a vision of the mallet wielded by their hulking, monstrous opponent, and so a chaotic vision flashes through her mind, showing the moment her friends were struck down and the twins stood alone against the darkness. And she struggles against the strange energy, screaming to be let go so she can return to her brother and help him. Back in the real world, Alton kneels over his sister's unconscious body, desperately trying to wake her up. Her eyes flutter open, and she looks at her brother with a dazed expression, asking what happened as she returns to consciousness. And she looks down at her hand, still weakly clutching her red umbrella, the aftermath of the battle clear. And so the demonic figures look down at the scene, with the large man asking their leader what exactly happened during the explosion. The demonic leader is furious, lamenting that their search was for nothing before ordering his followers to kill them all. And the masked archer calmly holds her weapon, remarking that the outcome is a shame as she prepares to act. And so she draws her bow, taking aim at the injured twins and telling them they can play again in the next world. A brilliant, star-like energy gathers at the tip of her arrow, ready to be unleashed in a final, devastating attack. Alton helps his sister to her feet, and they stand together, bracing themselves for the incoming assault. A massive volley of glowing green energy arrows rains down from the sky, looking like a deadly meteor shower. The young girl grits her teeth, her eyes filled with fierce determination as she prepares to defend them. As the arrows descend, a voice echoes in her mind, telling her that she can do this and must not give up. The energy arrows transform into glowing green snakes, the voice inside her head repeating that she can handle it. The serpent-like projectiles open their fanged mouths, ready to strike as she steels her resolve. Her eyes are filled with focus as she prepares for the impact, believing in her own strength to overcome the attack. She uses her umbrella to block the barrage, but the sheer number of projectiles makes it a desperate defense. With a strained expression, she wonders if her opponent has noticed a crucial detail during the chaos. And suddenly a hand reaches out from behind her, grabbing her wrist in the middle of her defense. The hand belongs to her brother, who pulls her back and pushes her away from the incoming attack. He takes the full force of the energy volley, his body racked with pain as the projectiles strike him. Covered in blood, he manages a weak, tearful smile for his sister, his sacrifice now complete, and his gaze begins to fade, the light leaving his eyes as he succumbs to the devastating wounds. A final spray of crimson marks the tragic end of the young warrior's life on the battlefield, and his head slumps forward, his body finally giving out as he collapses from the fatal injuries. In a white void, both of their bodies fall, and she whispers her brother's name in utter despair. Her face is a mask of pure horror, unable to comprehend the sacrifice that just saved her life. Back in the forest, the priest watches in shock as the girl lets out a heart-wrenching scream of grief. He quickly grabs the stunned girl and flees, pulling her away from the scene of the tragedy. The demonic leader orders his followers not to let them escape, their eyes glowing with malice. They reach a high cliff by the sea, and the priest thinks it's the end just as an explosion erupts below, and the three demonic figures watch from a distance, satisfied that their targets have nowhere left to run. But the elder's eyes suddenly widen with an idea, a last-ditch plan for their survival. He firmly plants his foot on the edge of the cliff, ready to make a desperate move. Using the shockwave from another blast, he leaps from the cliff, carrying the girl with him. They land on a sandy beach far below, having successfully escaped their pursuers for now. The priest, with tears in his eyes, tells the girl that their enemies won't be able to chase them this far. He reaches out a hand to her, gently asking if she is all right after the harrowing escape. But the young warrior can only kneel on the ground, her body trembling with uncontrollable sobs. In her grief, she hears her brother's voice, seeing a vision of his tear-streaked face. A memory surfaces of them as children, running through a field as he asks if she was bored. The vision is contrasted with the grim reality of his still, bloodied hand lying in the grass. She recalls another memory of him laughing as she cried, and his voice admits that it was fun for him. And he always reached out to her with a smile, even when she was sad, a constant presence in her life. His dying form appears, and his voice whispers a final, heartfelt thank you to his beloved sister. In a final, peaceful memory, the young twins sit together as his voice urges her to live on without him. His last request is for her to survive his dying face, a painful reminder of his sacrifice. So with his last breath, he asks her to carry on his dreams for him as the vision fades away. Back in reality, the girl kneels beside her brother's body, the weight of his final words settling in. Tears stream down her face as she sobs, asking if he truly wants her to live in his place. 4 years later, a more grown-up Asura runs with the priest, urging him to hurry before the steamship leaves. She shields her eyes and looks out excitedly at their destination while Tenzin sighs in exasperation. And so they look down at a bustling port, and she cheers that they have finally arrived at the sacred city. And she eagerly runs down the path but trips, comically stretching as she asks them not to leave her behind. Lying on the ground, she complains about her hunger, noting that the priest probably can't move either. She overhears some workers talking about a delicious meal, and a mischievous idea begins to form. The men complain amongst themselves, groaning about having to haul the same heavy boxes as last week. One of them shouts in frustration, wondering why it is always them who gets stuck with the hard labor. With a crazed look of hunger, the young warrior dashes past them, making a beeline for the food. The two workers stare at each other in absolute terror, their faces frozen in a state of pure shock, and she charges at them like a wild boar, causing them to scream and flee in panic, dropping their heavy cargo. Her face is a mask of pure, primal hunger as one of the men prays for the Creator King to save him. But the other worker grits his teeth, determined to escape with his load, and continues to run. The girl leaps through the air and tackles the fleeing man, sending them both tumbling to the ground, and she immediately starts devouring a large piece of meat while the priest yells at her to calm down and sit. Meanwhile, the terrified workers continue their frantic escape down the winding forest path, and the elder sighs, asking if they are lost again, but she just mumbles with her mouth full of food. He tells his companion to eat first and talk later as she happily continues to devour the stolen meal, and suddenly, she drops to all fours, sniffing the ground and announcing that she smells something criminal. And so with a bone still in her mouth, she declares she has solved the mystery and points them in a new direction. She runs off, claiming they are almost there, while he asks if she ever stops making decisions with her stomach. The young warrior just flashes him a confident thumbs up, telling him not to worry and to leave everything to her. Her companion lets out a long, weary sigh, clearly having given up on trying to reason with her anymore. They then take a running leap off a high cliff, aiming for a massive bird flying just below them. While she lands safely on a thick branch, his side immediately snaps, and he wonders why it is always him. The priest crashes into a pile of wooden crates while the girl gently floats down using her umbrella. She excitedly holds up 2 pieces of fried chicken as he wonders if she thinks about anything besides food. Looking around at the crowd of men surrounding them, she casually asks where they have ended up this time. Peeking out from behind a crate, the priest's eyes catch the glint of a glowing blue gem among some clothes, and she happily asks if they found a buffet, but he grimly corrects her, calling their situation a crisis. The 2 workers they stole from reappear, and one angrily suggests they burn calories by rampaging around. Their leader shouts at his men to attack, and they charge forward with spiked clubs, ready for a fight. She immediately panics, apologizing and offering to give them back their chicken, holding up a clean bone. A man comically drop kicks her, asking who has ever seen a chicken bone cleaned so thoroughly. And so, with a grin, the girl explains that the bone can be used to make a delicious broth, calling it the best when there's nothing else to eat. The man furiously retorts that he doesn't care about her preferences, finding the idea disgusting. Their leader stomps his foot, telling his men to stop talking and get to work, ready to end the confrontation. A blue-haired man charges forward with a sword, shouting for her to die as he lunges for an attack. The young warrior calmly readies her umbrella, her expression focused as she prepares to face her opponent. The tip of the man's blade glints in the light, aimed directly at her eye with deadly precision. But she easily dodges, using his own body as a springboard to leap into the air and avoid the strike. She gives him a playful wink as she flips over him, completely unfazed by his attempted attack. The blue-haired man looks on in utter shock, his eyes wide with disbelief at her incredible agility, and he and another attacker rush forward, determined to take down the surprisingly skilled young woman. She gracefully dodges their attacks, spinning and weaving between them with a fluid, dance-like motion. The blue-haired man grunts in frustration as she lands a powerful punch directly to his face, and she follows up with a swift kick to his head, sending him staggering back from the force of the blow. And the young warrior then brings her umbrella down hard on his head, knocking him to the ground in a decisive strike. But as she celebrates her victory, she looks down in horror to see a dirty footprint on her clean white shoe. Enraged, she says he won't make it home alive, asking if they really make a lovely lady go barefoot. Before they can react, she moves in a blur, striking down the two men with swift, powerful blows. She easily dispatches the rest of the attackers, her body glowing with a faint blue aura as she stands victorious. The priest looks on in shock, then reminds her they need to hurry up and leave before the ship departs. Suddenly, a man with a large pompadour appears, and one of the downed men weakly calls out to his boss. The elder complains that these hicks have interrupted his pleasant dream about a date with someone named Darva-chan. The boss, however, is furious about the commotion over what he heard was just some fried chicken. The young girl cheerfully invites the newcomer to join them, but the priest quickly tries to pull her away, and the gang leader lunges forward, vowing to beat the two of them to a pulp for causing so much trouble. That the duo fights back against the crowd, and she teases the priest for his rough handling of a lovely girl. Her companion narrowly dodges a club as one of the men notes they need to hurry and that the lady keeps good time. The leader suddenly appears before her, grabbing her arm and asking where she thinks she is hurrying off to. Her eyes widen in surprise as she finds herself caught in his grip, unable to break free from his strength. But she skillfully slips from his grasp, and his powerful punch only shatters the earth where she just stood. The boss looks down in confusion, completely surprised that she managed to escape his hold so easily. In the next instant, she is above him, her eyes glowing with a strange power as she prepares a counterattack. But he is even faster, placing his hand on her head and unleashing a powerful surge of purple energy. She cleverly uses her own backpack as a springboard, launching herself up to deliver a swift kick to his chin. The unexpected blow sends him stumbling back, his jaw rattled as he struggles to comprehend her strange move, and she lands gracefully, umbrella in hand, standing amidst the scattered leaves, ready for what comes next. A flashback shows a man in a fedora using a pocket watch to seemingly hypnotize another person. Back in the present, the priest tells the young warrior to lean on him, insisting she can't handle all of them by herself. She just smiles, explaining she won't fight because fighting isn't the only way to survive. A small canister on the ground releases a thick cloud of smoke, quickly filling the entire area. The duo is suddenly enveloped by the smoke, and the elder looks around in confusion, asking what is happening. As the smoke spreads, the other men grab onto them, and he yells at them while she complains about the pain. The young warrior watches with a focused gaze, a bead of sweat on her temple as her plan unfolds. The gang leader waves the smoke from his face, looking annoyed by the sudden turn of events. A short time later, he and his men are seen carrying the heavy crates out of a nearby cave. Inside, the duo sits tied up, having successfully tricked the gang into trapping themselves inside. One of the men stands over them, speaking angrily as Asa tries to explain it was all a misunderstanding. She then starts complaining that her shoes no longer fit, but the priest tells her their trip will be delayed by 2 years. The girl is shocked to hear about a 2-year delay, and her companion calmly states that he was not consulted, and so, he reflects that there is no need to rush and that there is no one to blame if their journey takes longer. They sit together in the dark cave, and she uses a small stick to draw something in the dirt. He tells her not to worry, but she playfully teases him, asking if he'll be sad when she leaves him to travel alone, and she leans in closer with a warm, gentle smile, her cheeks slightly flushed as she continues to jest with him. The elder just laughs, finding her attempts to cheer him up in their dire situation quite funny, and suddenly, she kicks a loose rock, sending it flying upwards and causing him to look up in alarm. The rock strikes a glowing red gem embedded in the cave ceiling, and he asks if she just dug up a jewel. Elsewhere, a red-haired girl covered in dirt mutters that someone couldn't possibly have treasure on them. In another scene, a group of men complains about having to reload heavy cargo after a false beer alarm. In the cave, a red-haired girl screams as Asa playfully bites down on her head, apologizing profusely. The girl lies on the ground, comically asking if she still has her head while Asa offers a conditional apology. She stands up and dusts herself off, loudly agreeing to the apology as Asa asks her to be quieter. And the young warrior takes her hand, and with a formal tone, declares that she will forgive her for the incident, and she then delivers a powerful punch to the girl's face, declaring that they are now even for the misunderstanding. The two of them immediately start arguing, squaring up as they challenge each other to a fight. They devolve into a chaotic brawl, rolling around in a cloud of dust as the priest begs them to stop, and Asa stands up, brushing herself off, and asks how they are supposed to get out of the cave now. She then notices a strange, glowing object hanging from a small creature's antenna in the corner of the cave, and kneeling down, she examines the object, noting that it seems to be pulling at her, as if asking to be taken. The red-haired girl suddenly lunges forward, shouting at her not to touch the mysterious, glowing artifact. But it is too late, as the young warrior has already taken the object and pulled it from the strange creature. The ground begins to shake violently, and a massive stone fist erupts from the earth, sending tremors through the cave. Outside, the gang watches in terror as a massive stone golem rises from the ground, blocking the cave entrance. The elder pulls the girl close as they are surrounded by dust and debris, and she asks what just happened. Outside the newly formed crater, a beam of red light shoots out as the duo looks on in confusion. Suddenly, a small, boxy robot with wheels flies out of the dust cloud and hits her directly in the face. The priest panics, and she just groans, the two of them clearly in a very bad situation once again. The priest looks on in confusion as his companion seems to be in a daze, asking if she is alright. From her perspective, a massive explosion erupts from her body, a symbol of her current rage, and she angrily shakes the small robot, yelling that she is going to break it, a large bump on her head. Stomping her foot on the ground, she shows her frustration as the situation continues to escalate. A pair of hands offers the robot to the red-haired girl, who joyfully accepts it, calling it Doc-chan. She holds the robot up in celebration, glad to have finally found it, while Asa looks on in disbelief. The young warrior grabs her umbrella, her expression showing her annoyance with the chaotic turn of events. She gruffly states it's time to head back to the ship, clearly irritated by the whole ordeal. The three of them run together, with the priest asking what exactly Doc-chan is and why it's so important. Asa immediately starts firing off a barrage of questions, her curiosity piqued by the mysterious little robot. But the red-haired girl quickly shuts her down, angrily stating that the robot is not a toy to be played with, and she clutches the robot tightly, explaining with a somber expression that is all she has left now. And the young warrior's expression softens, her eyes showing a hint of empathy and understanding for the girl's attachment. A flashback shows her and her brother standing together, a poignant reminder of her own loss. And so, she gently pats the girl on the shoulder, telling her it's okay and that she doesn't have to explain if she doesn't want to. The red-haired girl is touched by this, and a warm, genuine smile spreads across her face as she calls Asa a good kid. The sudden compliment catches the young warrior off guard, and a faint blush rises to her cheeks. The girl decides to escort them to the steamship, and Asa cheers, finally getting a move on. And so, as they approach the port, they see the ship is already leaving, and the girl declares there is no better engineer than her. She asks Asa to help her pick up some scattered items, and the girl innocently asks what an engineer is. The red-haired girl stares in disbelief, asking if her new companion is being serious. She yells, asking if Asa lived under a rock, and explains that engineers make all the machines and tools. He facepalms in despair as his companion wonders if even their cooking furnace is a machine, thinking it was magic. The girl explains that echo craft uses the surrounding echo, not a person's inner energy. As a demonstration, she throws a teddy bear at the gang, calling it by a strange name, and the teddy bear explodes, sending the men flying as Asa looks on in amazement while the priest tells her to hold on. The engineer grins, saying there is an even more amazing level to her creations as she holds up Doc-chan. A much larger explosion erupts behind them, and the trio runs for their lives from the powerful blast. And suddenly, a loud siren blares from a nearby pole, and they cover their ears from the deafening sound. From the docks, they see the steamship is already far away, and Asa asks if there is any way to catch up. The engineer tells the old man to grab a rope, but he retorts that he is only an uncle at best. The priest sighs, telling her to hurry with her plan as he helps her tie a secure knot in the thick rope, and she holds the rope up, a determined look on her face as she tells her companions to put it on their shoulders. And they are both fitted with a strange harness, and Asa looks on with excitement, wondering what will happen next. And the girl then attaches the other end of the rope to a large basket filled with scrap metal, and she lies down in a large bag, gives them a confident smile, and announces that they are all set. The engineer then apologizes for her earlier actions and tells Asa she can pull the handle this time. The young girl's eyes sparkle with excitement, while the priest looks on with a face of pure terror. With a confident grin she pulls the handle, activating the strange contraption without a moment's hesitation. A massive explosion of water erupts from the basket, launching them forward like a rocket. The force of the blast launches the trio and a massive chunk of the dock high into the air, and so all three of them scream in terror, realizing the explosion was far more powerful than they had anticipated. And from high above, the the steamship looks like a small toy as it continues to sail away across the vast ocean. The engineer's face is a mask of panic as the large bag she was in begins to fall away. She screams that this is bad and will kill them all, while her companions share her look of absolute terror. And so as they begin to fall, the priest yells at the girl to grab his hand, trying to keep them all together, and she manages to grab a rope connecting them as he tells her to stay calm and that everything will be okay. The young warrior focuses her energy, convinced that their trajectory will still lead them to the ship, and she unleashes a powerful blast of blue energy, hoping to propel them in the right direction. But her calculation is off, and they miss the ship completely, landing hard on the deck of a nearby barge. The engineer suddenly spots something in the distance and yells for the others to look over there, and she points out a large chute on the side of the steamship, suggesting it as their only chance for survival. Deciding to try something risky, she pulls a strange swirling galaxy-like object from her bag. She hops onto a large drill-like machine, asking her robot companion if it is ready for what comes next. Doc Chan's eyes glow red as she orders it to charge up to maximum speed for a powerful launch. With a powerful slam, she activates the machine, the red button glowing as it whirs to life. The machine spins rapidly, launching them through the air once again in a desperate attempt to reach the ship. As they fly, the drill activates, burrowing a hole straight through the side of the steamship. The trio is sent tumbling through the ship's interior, screaming as they crash through the vessel, and they finally come to a stop, landing in a pile in front of a bright, glowing light at the end of a tunnel. The trio is unceremoniously dumped out of a chute, landing in a massive pile of trash. They crash into the garbage with a loud thud, sending debris flying everywhere from the impact. Meanwhile, the steamship continues its journey across the calm, open ocean under a bright, sunny sky. On the ship, a group of people are chasing a young boy, yelling at him to stop eating as the trio lies stunned. The boy kicks one of his pursuers, declaring that they are not involved in whatever he is doing, and so a man in a straw hat holds a strange glowing tube and his companion tells him it's time to go. The engineer's eyes light up as she notices the glowing object, and the priest looks on in confusion. She excitedly asks the boy to show her the object, recognizing it as a G203 power module. The boy holds the glowing tube tightly, worried of the strange girl's sudden interest in his possession. The two of them start to argue over the object, and she insists she just wants to take a quick look at it. The boy accuses her of trying to steal it, but she playfully insists she just wants to make sure it works properly. They continue to bicker, and she tells him not to interfere, claiming she will watch over him and his friends. Suddenly, Asa headbutts both of them, her face a mask of fury as she yells at them to stop, and she holds them both in a headlock, demanding to know why they are helping her and the boy. Back in a workshop, the engineer holds a welding torch, stating that they were lucky she is an engineer. She proudly declares that as a certified professional, she was able to fix the badly broken power module. The boy scolds Asa for playing with dangerous things, but she retorts that he is not a grown-up himself. The boy declares that the Brave amusement park is where legendary nomads are born and their dreams take flight. With a confident grin, he announces that with the now repaired power module, their story as nomadic warriors begins. The boy and the engineer strike a triumphant pose, holding up an express ticket to the ship's upper level. The boy proudly stands in a colossal armored power suit, his two companions striking a pose beside him. Asa's eyes sparkle with excitement and she asks what a powered suit is, while the priest looks on in shock. The boy explains that with the suit, they can finally defeat the Crushers after fighting in the park for 6 months. With a grim expression, he declares that he will finally get his freedom after waiting for so long. The young girl encourages him, saying she understands his resolve and is sure that he can do it. He explains that a true nomad dreams big, and the value lies in the pursuit, not in winning or losing. He reveals they have been trapped at the bottom for 10 years, and she is tied up as a demonstration. He introduces his two companions, Belle and Jibo, who give the newcomers a friendly welcome. Asa introduces herself and her companions, boasting that her name will be carved into history. The three of them look on with serious expressions, understanding the weight of the boy's words, and the young girl eagerly tries to get into the suit, but he quickly shoos her away, claiming it as his own. She lies on the ground, crying, and the engineer warns her not to break anything else this time. The girl reminds him they only have 5 minutes left, and he panics, realizing they need to leave immediately. He promises to remember their names after they make it to the upper level, and they all run off. And so they follow their new friends through a crowded hallway, heading toward the path to the upper level. The two of them stand before a long, dark hallway, and their guide tells them this is the way forward. She gives them directions, telling them to head to the middle pillar, where a guard will check their tickets. Asa waves goodbye, promising to fight them again after they win, and the priest wishes them good luck. And so, the two of them approach the guard, and the elder explains they need to talk to the 10-pillar tribe. After a moment of hesitation, the guard allows them to pass, and Asa cheers as she runs up the stairs. The young warrior excitedly tells her companion, Tenzin, that they have finally made it to their destination, but a voice suddenly stops her, declaring that no one can pass without a ticket. Their red-haired companion argues with the guards, questioning why they can't be more flexible since the others have tickets. A guard shoves her back, stating that lower-level citizens are not allowed to climb up because it is against the rules. Asa grabs the guard, demanding that they let Yaruito pass because she is their companion. The guards look skeptical, questioning if their tickets might also be fake and offering to check them again. Asa gets furious, shouting about the effort it took to get the tickets, but Tenzin holds her back, telling her to calm down. Suddenly, she hears a familiar voice that makes her stop, and she wonders aloud if it belongs to Jibo. She and her companion look over the edge, startled by a sudden commotion happening just below them. And so down below, the floor is littered with the shattered remains of some kind of machine. A large man stands over several defeated bodies as a voice orders for them all to be executed. And so Asa and Tenzin stare in complete horror at the brutal scene unfolding right in front of them. The young boy Jibo slams his fist down, yelling for everyone to be quiet because the match has already been decided. And so, the guards mockingly tell the group on the ground that this is the belly of the steamship where you either eat or get eaten. Her eyes suddenly flare with a bright blue light as she glares down at the guards with intense fury. The two guards look up, their faces filled with terror as they witness her sudden change. One of them nervously asks if she intends to make an enemy of the Kark tribe, his hand clenching into a fist. Without hesitation, she unleashes a powerful punch that sends the guard flying backward with tremendous force, and the other guard can only watch in shock as his partner is knocked unconscious from the powerful blow. The terrified guard points at the defeated man, revealing his name as the Crusher as the trio looks on. She stares at the defeated man with cold eyes, clarifying that she wants to know his real name. The large man known as the Crusher lets out a furious roar, his silhouette glowing with red energy, and he flexes his muscles, showing off a sun tattoo on his arm as the group watches from above. The man laughs mockingly, amused that she wants his real name, while the crowd below worries she will get killed, and he violently grabs the young boy Jibo by the collar, lifting him into the air with ease. The Crusher then points up at the trio, aggressively demanding to know what they want from him, and Asa shouts back that she wants to rip the horns off his head and shove them where they don't belong. Her threat is met with a loud, condescending laugh from the large warrior below. He grips his weapon, calling them pathetic fools who just wandered into his amusement park. To emphasize his point, he slams the heavy weapon into the ground with immense force. The man licks his lips, sneering that lower-level citizens like them are not allowed to have dreams. And so he continues to taunt them, calling them low-born wretches who shouldn't get full of themselves. Tenzin gently holds Asa, reminding her to think carefully as their goal is to reach the 10-pillar tribe. She clutches her one-way ticket, her expression showing her internal conflict with his words. In a sudden move, she snatches the ticket right out of her companion's hand, surprising him. Without a moment of hesitation, she rips the precious ticket completely in half. She declares that the muscle-headed moron is wrong, and ignoring him means accepting his insults. And with fiery determination, she insists they must prove him wrong before they can pursue their dreams. And so her companion looks at her with understanding and finally agrees that she is right. And so the three of them stand united, and Tenzin declares they will prove the Crushers wrong together. And the crowd cheers, telling the defeated to get lost and calling them eyesores that need to be disposed of. The red-haired girl puts her arm around Asa, confirming they are ready to team up and take down the muscle-headed moron. Suddenly, a mysterious figure wearing a monkey mask appears, hanging upside down from a rope with a wide grin. He dangles right in front of the red-haired girl, who stares back at him with a look of pure surprise. The masked man cheerfully congratulates her, causing her expression to shift from surprise to complete shock, and he then swings away, telling the two girls that they are very lucky to have met him at this moment. Landing gracefully, the stranger continues to hold onto the rope, his strange mask still fixed in a smile. He happily explains to them that an opening has just become available, holding up 3 fingers. An unexpected vacancy occurred because a previous group decided to back out and asked for a refund, and so he asks if they want to shut up the loudmouthed fool and make a glorious debut on the upper deck. The masked man makes a grand announcement, officially selecting the 3 of them as alternate participants. With a flourish, he speaks of destiny, confusion, and alliance, as if their meeting was fated. He recites a short poem about how fame is just an illusion that the boss can easily settle. The stranger continues his speech, promising overwhelming victories and a splendid show to intoxicate the crowd. Reaching a hand out, he tells them that once they reach the top, he will send them off, praising their work. I'm completely annoyed by his antics, yells at the masked man, asking if he can ever stay still, and he playfully dodges her, boasting that he is like the wind and cannot be caught, telling her to be patient. The man then encourages them to step onto the stage and seize their glory, calling them champions. Both Asa and her red-haired companion snap, yelling at the annoying monkey to shut up and seal his mouth. But Tenzin states he won't fight, so Asa reassures him that he can just stand there, promising he won't be harmed. But with a confident grin, she insists that just having Tenzin stand there is enough for them to win. The masked man swings by on his rope, telling them to follow him because the show starts right away. And so, the suddenness of it all leaves the young warrior looking up with a slightly panicked expression. She nervously clings to Tenzin, asking if he was really planning to refuse, her eyes pleading with him. He sighs in defeat, reluctantly agreeing to be the third member but asking them to handle everything. Asa pumps her fist in the air, cheering that they're ready to go, while her companion looks on in despair. An announcer's voice booms across a massive, packed arena, welcoming everyone to the grand event. In the crowd, a man with a large afro sips a drink, unfazed by the heat despite his thick coat. The red-haired girl says she will finish her fight quickly so she can watch the rest with Tenzin. Asa smirks, getting ready for her opponent, who calmly looks on while sipping his drink. Tenzin watches from the sidelines, pleading with his two energetic companions to remember to use teamwork, and she rushes forward, but her opponent calmly warns her that early birds get deep fried. The young warrior leaps high into the air, aiming a powerful kick, but the man blocks it with one arm. Landing on her feet, she looks surprised by his strength and admits that he is not bad. Her opponent's expression turns serious as he places a hand on the zipper of his large purple coat. Meanwhile, the red-haired girl charges forward, declaring she will take care of the old man first. Her opponent, an elderly man with a wide grin, reveals a glowing beaded bracelet on his wrist. She suddenly finds herself surrounded by swirling purple energy emanating from the old man. The strange energy intensifies, causing her hair to float as she prepares for his attack. And so the elder unleashes a wave of power, and she charges straight into the crackling energy to meet him. On the other side of the arena, Asa is surrounded by purple energy as she slams her fist down on her opponent. The man with the afro dodges her attack, causing her foot to slam into the ground instead. Suddenly, a young boy rushes past her, landing a quick, unseen strike as he runs by. She stops in her tracks, a blush rising to her cheeks as she realizes what the boy just did. The kid turns back with a wink and a cheeky grin, clearly proud of his little prank. The young warrior clenches her fist in fury, yelling at the brat and promising him a spanking. But her other opponent begins to chant, unleashing a wave of ice that spreads across the floor. And Asa looks at him with pure disgust, asking him to stop talking to her as her friends fight in the background. He ignores her completely, continuing his cold proclamation and calling her chatter useless and tepid. She screams in frustration, yelling that nobody is interested in what he has to say. While she is distracted, her red-haired companion gets kicked by the old man, crying out in pain. The man with the afro tells her that her focus is broken and her flow is disrupted by doubt, and she quickly refocuses, blocking his incoming punch with her forearm, confident it will do nothing. But an intense cold spreads from the point of impact, causing her to shiver and drop her umbrella, and her companion lets out a yelp as the perverted kid manages to strike her again from behind. And so, the two girls get angry, wondering what is wrong with the brat and complaining they didn't see him coming. The boy cheekily suggests she get more calcium, and she lunges at him with a furious punch. Suddenly, both girls find themselves trapped in the swirling purple energy from the old man, and Asa wonders if the magic backpack her friend is wearing can do something to help them against the elder. Her companion agrees, recalling that the bag is supposed to contain a powerful cure-all. Asa feels dizzy within the purple energy, apologizing because the sensation is so awful. The engineer explains that since her backpack is miniaturized, she can only grab random things from the top. She suggests just blowing everything up like before, but her companion immediately shuts down that idea. The girl decides to use a great invention from when she was 8, an airtight container for drinks. She holds up a purple gourd, explaining that while the lid used to get stuck, she has now overcome that weakness. With a determined shout, she hurls the strange container directly at the elderly opponent. The gourd explodes, releasing a blast of pink energy filled with ghostly faces that slams into the old man. Tenzin asks if she tried to poison him, but she explains it was a mix of old and new carbonated drinks. The elder dodges Asa's next attack, and she notes the drink's stench could knock down a cow. She is shocked by his agility, wondering if his skeleton is made of jellyfish to move like that. The young boy with the cap easily blocks one of her strikes with his open palm, a smirk on his face. The young warrior grits her teeth in frustration as his defense holds strong against her attack. Her other opponent continues his rap, hitting her with a blast of icy calls. Eternal frost. Her hand is instantly encased in a thick layer of solid ice from the powerful cold attack. She screams in pain as the frost spreads up her arm, a gushing sensation overwhelming her. The man in the coat continues his rap, unleashing frost pillars and declaring his complete reign. And Asa shivers uncontrollably, noticing that the air around them is getting even colder than before. She suddenly realizes his power is rap, and the more lyrics he creates, the colder it gets. Now understanding his ability, she grabs her umbrella, which begins to glow with a dark energy. She stands ready, surrounded by swirling blue and black power, preparing her counterattack. And she slides underneath the man in the coat, her umbrella glowing as she moves with incredible speed. But she complains that it makes no sense for things to get slower when they freeze, which surprises the other two. The young boy with the cap grins mischievously, reaching out to touch her again as she turns to face him. And so she clenches her fists in fury, calling him a damn pervert and warning him that he will only get away with it for now. The boy just grins, saying bad habits are hard to break, as a mysterious purple hand appears above him. Tenzin suddenly appears, warning him that he will eventually become a lecherous old man, which terrifies the boy. Asa cheers for her companion, happy that he finally stepped in to help her out of a tight spot. But her moment of relief is cut short as her body suddenly begins to feel incredibly heavy, and she collapses to the ground, covered in small, cute-looking ghosts that are weighing her down completely. Tenzin looks on in shock as the boy runs away, leaving the strange but heavy spirits behind him, and so her red-haired companion realizes the strange things appeared everywhere the weirdo had touched her. She declares they cannot let the spirits escape and decides they have to catch the pervert first. So, the engineer reaches out to grab one of the ghosts, but the strange creature slips right through her fingers. As she chases after the boy, she somehow gets stuck running back to back with him. She decides to use a special gadget, grabbing a strange-looking watch from her wrist. The girl calls it the absolutely never-losing G-Watch, an invention with a unique power. It summons an echo every second that sticks to its target, but it might also explode every 100 seconds. Even though she admits she did not need it at that moment, she decides to activate the watch anyway. The device activates, sending out a long stream of echo copies that fly straight toward the boy, and she immediately gets frustrated, wondering why she did not design her invention with less air resistance. The young warrior tries to steady herself, her eyes fixed on the battle unfolding around her. But the man in the coat lands a solid punch, knocking her to the ground with a painful thud. At the same time, the boy with the cap reaches out, swiftly grabbing one of the glowing spirits. He closes his hand around the small creature, easily capturing the strange, floating entity. With a triumphant grin, the youth holds up the captured spirit, declaring it a one-strike victory. He then smugly places the glowing ghost into his star-shaped bag, looking very pleased with himself. But his elderly companion tells him not to get lucky, boasting he could have snatched 7 by now. The old man confidently adds that their victory celebration can begin early, his tone mocking. The man with the afro calls them fools, stating that such an early arrival is simply bad manners. And the young boy just laughs, certain that capturing the remaining 3 spirits will be an easy task. He taunts the trio, asking if they enjoyed the show so far and promising the next part will be even better. Tenzin suddenly realizes their strategy, explaining their ability activates by touching someone unnoticed. He says the boy's actions create an opening, luring them to prematurely activate a second stage, and this knowledge should collapse their plan, but he worries what will happen if Asura is captured 3 more times. His opponent looks on with a serious expression, his icy aura growing stronger as the tension rises.